How you doing, folks? I'm gonna go ahead and do my video for this coming up weekend because it's being Easter weekend, and I figured I'd go ahead and get one in, earlier part instead of waiting until the weekend while everybody's busy on Easter weekend. I'm gonna talk a little bit about shot process. I had somebody that wanted me to discuss my shot process and everything, so we're just gonna use my shot process. And if you're new to archery, basic shot process is your basic form. That's all it is, except for with a shot you're going to release an arrow, and I'm going to do this for two sides, 3-under and split finger, because I can shoot 3-under or split finger off the same knock height. So we'll begin, talking about the shot process. Basically it just kind of comes up in smaller parts, and I learned this from somebody else, and breaking it down to smaller pieces is going to help you, especially if somebody that's been shooting a while, to recognize where the problems are coming from. I do the same thing. Most of the time I'm working on my bow arm or my release. If my release I'm plucking and I'm not relaxing and letting the shot happen, I'm not going to get my fingers out away from that string fast enough. All I'm trying to do is relax and hold everything. So I got 3 arrows here. Actually got more than that, but I'm just going to shoot 3 arrows. And we'll walk down there and look at them. I'll shoot 3 arrows 3-under and 3 arrows split finger, so you'll get an idea on how I do it either way. The first thing I'll do, after I knock my arrow, and I'll just look at my target. All at the same time I'm setting my bow grip, so my bow grip's there. And then I'm going to just raise up, draw, get back to anchor, and shoot. So I had, my back tension. All I did was relax. When I got a deep hook, so I go to my first digits. Some people go further than that, just whatever's comfortable for you. And all I do is coming back and coming to anchor, so I should have back tension, and I'm not really trying to grip my string. I'm just trying to let it sit there in those digits, so to speak. So when I grip, I can feel it there, and I'll just repeat the same process. I'll just come up, and it automatically going to bring your shoulder back if you got proper back tension. So which I ain't really shooting too good. It's like the first little bit I've shot, and I had to do some other stuff, work on some stuff, but it's very simple, and trying to keep it very fluid, and just come back. And my anchor, I'll take my back knuckle and put it on the back of my jaw, so my head is resting basically on the inside. I've got my index finger to my eye tooth, then I got my middle finger in the corner of my mouth, which is not a good anchor, but a lot of people do. If you can draw and hit the same anchor without moving the soft tissue, the skin on your mouth, it moves back and forth. But if you find something solid, like something back here on your jawbone don't move, your cheekbone don't move, or nor does your eye tooth. I try to hit all 3 of those anchors there and hold and shoot. So we'll walk down there real quick and look at pretty much what I did here, and I'll pull them. And I can tell you about what I did wrong on one of them. So, excuse me, this lower one probably dropped my bow arm I guess it's my first shot or second shot or whatnot, but the other two are pretty much, on it, and everything is lined up center. So it's kind of what I want. So we'll set you down over here real quick, and we'll go through it split finger. And it's just basically finding something that's repeatable with your anchors, your anchor points, and everything else. With mine, I work on my bow arm most of the time. And I'll grab my bow here. I'll work on my bow arm most of the time because that's where I'm missing. It's either my release and my bow arm are tied together. So as I release, if I'm not relaxing and letting the string come out from my fingers, if I'm trying to do it kind of in a rough way, it's going to affect which way I pluck or come off. If I come off too hard, it's going to turn my bow arm slightly. But when I draw, I try to keep this shoulder down, and I'm not, trying to manhandle the bow into place. All I'm trying to do is get settled in, and when I'm settled in, I release, so everything's kind of fluent. So we'll do these with split finger, and I'll probably shoot high because of that. So it's all the same thing. I'm going to look at my target. I'm going to come back to draw. I'm a little high, like I figured, and it's just something repeatable. I'm just going to come back, same anchor, same everything. Group's high, but looks to be pretty consistent. Stare at my target, my grip's there. Come back to draw, anchor, relax. And it's barely pretty simple. So that's basically my whole shot process, and I'm trying to find stuff that's repeatable to where I can make repeatable shots every time. And if you make a bad shot, try to look for a positive in it. That's going to help your confidence level. If you don't find positives, you're always finding a miss. Like my other group, it was low. I got a group that's high right now, and one of them's really high, but I'm gonna go down here and pick a positive and keep a good positive attitude toward my shot process. So I might be plucking up, and my bow arm's moving up, and I try to keep everything anchored. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell for your shot process, for it to be repeatable. And we'll look at this one. I'm barely high, but I'm center of my tape, what I was going for. So that wouldn't take a whole lot to clean up. So I hope this helps somebody. If you're brand new, just starting out, maybe a few months, 6 months, my whole thing, and I still do this now, is work on my form shot process. It's all basically the same. So if you're shooting, if you would slow down and actually go through it point by point by point, and let your mind, it takes pictures of shots at certain distances. It grabs that distance. So when I first started out, when I was working on, I started out at about 3 yards, and I took 3 arrows until I hit all 3 of my arrows at what I was looking at or aiming at. Then I would move back a couple steps, and repeat the same process. If I miss, say, at 10 yards and couldn't, you know, I can get one in on one set, then another set I get two. I'll stay there until after a little bit, then, you know, I'd say, well, this is about as far as I'm going to get. Then I'll kind of leave it at that, come back the next day and work on the same thing. Start at 3 and until I put all 3 arrows in there. And what it's doing is making you work on your form at that distance, or your shot process, to where you can actually hit it every time. You'll be able to put arrows in a group at that distance, and when you get back, the better your form gets, the further you're going to be able to go back. So, and your shot process, same thing. I hope this helps. That's basically mine. My bow arm probably dropped a little bit. I'll have to look at the video, but you know, for a low shot, for me, when I released, it's probably my bow arm just dropped a hair. It don't take much. I mean, the best way I like to do to check my shot process or my form is go 30-40 yards. If I can keep my arrows in a line at what I'm looking at or aiming at, then that tells me everything is spot on. If I don't care if I don't even make it to the target. I'm looking where they land. If they're in the line, what I'm looking at, normally I'm shooting at a little golf wiffle ball. It's an 1.5 by 1.5 inch, which they're fairly cheap little targets, but so I try to keep everything. I'm trying to get everything tighter, and if everything's in alignment at those distances, then it tells me my shot process is very much in line. That way I know I'm not plucking, I'm not all scrunched up, you know, because if you practice your shot process, your front shoulder, your bow arm shoulder should be, you know, just relaxed. It's basically all the bones are in alignment. When you put your bow in your bow hand, everything, it should be resting against your bone structure. You shouldn't be doing this or trying to pull with your elbow. You should be pulling with your back. And, you know, a good way to learn that is watch yourself in a video, see what your bow arm does, or not your bow arm, but your release hand. You know, one way I can tell somebody ain't got back tension is if their elbow don't come back, or you know, their elbow don't come back. Is one way. If they're trying to and they collapse on their shot, I know they're trying to pull with their shoulder and their arm instead of their back. So there's several ways you can tell if you're not using your back tension, and that's all part of form too, and that's part of your shot process. So if you get drawn back, and everything should just be in a good tee, and when you release, it should just be like everything just relaxes. Your bow arm will stay there until your arrow hits the target, but you'll feel it in your release hand. It just comes back, and everything just kind of relaxes all at once. So I hope this helps, and I hope this helps somebody. So I know it's kind of a long video, you know, repeating, talking about the same thing. But if you work on your shot process, you'll get, and your form and or / shot process, you'll have more consistent good shots. I mean, I'm a firm believer, good consistent form results in good consistent shots. So I hope this helps, and I hope y'all have a great day, and God bless.